Thursday nights in the time of Corona experiment with 10 creative people. And we're each going to do a piece that we've written, an original piece that each one of us has put together. And our first up is the brave Candy Sari. She volunteered to be first. Candy is one of the most dedicated writers I've ever met. She has, over the last 25 years, she has written many novels. She says 6 of them are in the drawer. And her published novel is called Black Crow, White Lie. And she has 2 more on the way. They're out being reviewed by agents, etc. And she's extremely active in the writing community, the local writing community, and she hosts the most wonderful author events at her home from her very own hand-picked authors, and they always say yes. Okay, Candy, you're up.
It's Thursday night in Candy Sari's house. I'm upstairs in her office, stuck on page 52, while she is downstairs watching the news again. I'm tired of her obsession with the real world these days. She's left me and all of her other characters in limbo. I've been on page 52 for weeks now, sitting on a park bench, all of my belongings in a shopping cart beside me. She thought it would be interesting to make me a homeless guy for a while. Yeah, interesting to the lady on the big white couch with the roof over her head. She left me here with a half-eaten sandwich some teenager gave me out of pity, while she's snacking on fancy dried mango, watching CNN, and waiting for Postmates to deliver her a hot, delicious Italian dinner. I've tried talking to Muse. I told her that I'm going to quit the story altogether if it doesn't get going again, but Muse says I can't quit. I am the story. If not for me, there is no plot. So then I asked Muse if she has a better writer who could take over and give me the attention I deserve. With a smirk, she tells me I'm not that great of a character. Candy Sari is about as good a writer as I'm going to get. You're just going to have to be patient, Muse says. We're working through a bit of a problem here in the world of fiction. What kind of problem, I ask? Well, she takes a deep breath. Stephen King's Muse decided to leave fiction. He's created a story for the real world and he's killing it. And what does that have to do with me, I ask? Until Stephen King can entice his muse back to fiction, the real world is going to be chaotic and distracting. Under these circumstances, the rest of us are having a hard time getting our artists back to their creative work. But if Candy doesn't get back to me in the next couple weeks, I tell her, I could die out here. Muse looks upward, squinting her eyes, considering that storyline. Don't go getting any crazy ideas, I tell her. You can't just kill me off, you know. You said yourself, I am the story. She nods, of course you are. Her smile is so fake, I get the feeling I've just planted a very bad seed in her mind. So I sit back on the park bench, try to make myself comfortable, and take a good look around page 52. The sun is out. It's not raining anymore. I see a couple friends over on the grass who might want to play cards later. I still have 2 new books I checked out from the library, and the sandwich I've got is actually not half bad. If I have to be stuck in one place while my world is temporarily shut down, I think I can get used to page 52.
Wonderful.
That was great. That was great. Okay, second up is Sean Sanders. He's an editor, a writer, and a self-published guru who sometimes goes under the pen name of Ray Swift. He's written a multitude of poems, short stories, and novels, and he's self-published, and a couple of 100 songs. Pre-COVID, Sean also taught English and writing at local colleges. Okay, Sean, you're on.
Ovid caught the COVID, and in about 19, either BC or AD or somewhere in between, he was banished to an island, Thomas, in the Black Sea, where he wrote astounding works far too long for me to read. They said he was sent away because he wrote a sexy song about the fairest wench who ever done him wrong. Caesar Augusta was involved. A paranoid was he, a bit like D.T. Rump, as ugly as can be. And Ovid knew quite well Marcus Corvinus, so I'm told, That's not coronavirus that has us worried about the old. Ovid also had a lover. Karina was her name. Again, I do not mean corona that has dampened lips and flames. Karina he did not marry before he went to hide. It seems he simply had her as a lover on the side. Augustus had made a rule, no casual fornication. From here forthwith, there must be no adultery in this nation. Still, Ovid wrote the most naughty poems, lewd as they could be. I read that's why he was sent to Tomis in the sea. But the truth as I now know it can be here revealed for all. Ovid caught the COVID in the winter or the fall. Ovid had been a member of the Centumviral Court. Perhaps that's where he caught it, then sneezed on August's shirt. Of course, Augustus freaked right out. He wouldn't want to catch it or spend a month in hospital dealing with Nurse Ratched. So wiping goobers from the cloth of his favorite business robe, he turned on our young poet and grabbed him by the lobe. He said, "Here now, what's all this? You've sneezed all down my front. I'll throw you in a dungeon for pulling such a stunt. I'll put you on for Sunday in the Colosseum. A poem by the name of Ovid, see him, here get eaten." Then I'll bet good old Karina, as she was known to do, played up to Daddy August and really pitched the woo. Down on her knees she begged him, pleaded with her hands clutched tightly to her bosom, she made her fair demand. "Augustus, oh Augustus, it very nearly might make his life far worse just to send him out of sight." "By Venus," said Augustus, "sent he shall be to a tiny little island in the middle of the sea." He gave an evil laugh, "Wah ha 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 ha." Ovid never would again see his fair Karina. But perhaps that's just as well, because having COVID, he would have passed it to Karina and all humanity. We'd all have died long ago for a very silly reason, that Ovid was not sent away for his sneezing treason. But historians, as usual, have covered up the truth about Ovid having COVID quite early in his youth. I have all the answers, as clear as can be, because in my deepest fever, Ovid came to me. He explained it all in detail. He didn't miss a trick. He told me how the vid had really made him sick. When I came out of my fever, I knew I had to share my clarity of vision. Nothing would I fear. Slings and arrows of misfortune, though as pointy as can be, could never pierce the thickest skin of one as smart as me. But that's another story for another day. Like Ovid, I'll write poems till the COVID goes away. Silly rhymes. I love silly rhymes.
You're a silly boy. Okay, number 3, Cindy Whitney. Cindy worked as an animator at the Disney Animation on 4 feature films before she transferred into Consumer Product Division to manage the merchandising of many, a whole host of films, including The Little Mermaid. Because that wasn't enough, she returned to college, got a master's and a doctorate in human and organizational systems, which landed her a position in the city of Pasadena, then Metrolink. And now she lectures about, these words are very large. She lectures about genealogy and gerotranscendence. At the Saddleback College Emeritus Program, and she hosts a TV interview show at a local station. Okay, Cindy, you're on.
Notice none of that says I'm a writer. Okay, it's Thursday night, I think. Never sure anymore. Wow, that was terrifying. It felt so real. What do the scientists say? Our brains use our sleep time now to process the anxieties we experience during the day. Fear of the unknown, a global pandemic. Odd. This dream was about an actual, terrifying, real event. It was about Coyote Road. I was my 8-year-old self leaving my yard, walking alone down the country dirt road we lived on. I'd walked about a half a mile when I came upon the entrance to Coyote Road. It wasn't really a road at all, just a suggestion of one, and it was completely overgrown with summer saplings, wild, thick underbrush, and massive blackberry bushes. We call them pricker bushes. I'd only been down Coyote Road once with my older brother, and I remember we battled our way through the over and undergrowth to find a sunny clearing where I spent some time sitting and drawing the birds and the flowers and the trees. But on this day, feeling particularly brave, I came to the clearing and decided to venture past it and investigate the woods on the other side. My exploring led me to also discover a meadow and a nice brook, but as the sun lowered in the sky, I realized I was unsure of how to return to the clearing and the path home. Nothing seemed familiar, nothing, no trees or branches or leaves or rocks, nothing. Panic began to set in quickly, and I plunged into the dense brush, swatting away tree branches and vines that grabbed at my t-shirt and shorts. The pricker bushes scratched my legs, my arms, my face. I stumbled over random boulders and sunk my left foot into a rut that was filled with water, and I pulled off my shoe. I plucked the wet, muddy shoe out of the hole and put it back on. It was squishy and cold. I felt as though I was completely coming apart. Coyote Road was getting very dark at this point, and I had completely lost my way. I could hear the day sounds fading and the night sounds rising, insects and owls and bats and things I could only imagine. I had almost given into the terror I was feeling when I paused and I realized there was one thing I could try to find. I stopped and I squinted my eyes and I stared at eye level in a full circle all the way around where I was standing. Please be there. It has to be there. Is that it? Yes, I moved the big branches and vines out of the way to see more clearly. It was our porch light way off in the distance, a beautiful beacon. I felt so strong and I marched on, stomping angrily on the bushes and ferns and snapping the branches that got in my way. I'm going home, I said, and nothing was going to stop me. That memory was my dream this Thursday night, and I remember what I learned all those years ago. The terror was nothing compared to my determination to conquer it. Epilogue. 10 years later, Coyote Road was a subdivision, and in the 15 years I lived on that street, no one ever saw one damn coyote.
All right, Judy is next. Judy Shepard is the writer's best friend. She's the most avid reader. She supports all form of writing. She attends author events constantly. She's dipping her toe in the pond tonight. You're on, Judy.
Okay, Thursday night in the time of COVID-19 or bonding through baklava in Corona Del Mar. Does your family have food traditions? Boy, is that a dumb question. Every family does. In ours, it's baklava. Our family ethnicity wouldn't call for that. So here's the backstory. My godparents, Camel and May Tooney, were Egyptian, and he was the treasurer of the United Nations when my parents lived in Queens near them. May was a fabulous cook, and she was the one who taught my mom, Betty, or Gigi, as the grands and great-grands called my mom. Now, Gigi was fiercely protective of that recipe and told us we were never allowed to give it out. My oldest daughter, Debbie, made it often to send to Gigi when she was in Bentley Village, the Cadillac of senior living in Naples, Florida. So this past Thursday, both of my girls and my one granddaughter, Tessa, came down to visit their old mom. I've never really thought of myself as old until this COVID thing has labeled me that. Anyone over 65 is old, and I sure qualify. I figured it was a great time to pass on the family recipe to Tessa, as she's now 12. Debbie, my oldest daughter, did the awful job of chopping up the walnuts. No Cuisinart for this group. It releases too many of the oils per Gigi's admonition. Normally I use it, and I can't tell the difference when the walnuts are wading through all that butter. Tessa learned the secrets of how to handle the phyllo dough. Lucky for me, it turned out perfectly. Unlucky for me, I've gained 2 pounds because of it. Such a fun time passing on the family's secrets. Sorry, there's none left for you.
Okay, Nicola Troost. Nicola is a suspense writer, excuse me, and author of the Brianna Cayley series based in Marin County. She's currently working on the next in the series, Nadi Navoda.
Nevada.
No, Nevada. Her latest work, a short story, this sounds so fun, can be found in Fairy Tales, the sequel, in which 9 authors answer the age-old question of what happened next in 9 fairy tales. Okay, Nicola.
It's Thursday night and I'm watching TV in my tiny city apartment when I hear a strange masculine voice. Dude, dude. Suddenly I'm face planted flat against the earth, blades of grass tickling my nose. I roll over to find Farmer John, complete in overalls and a straw hat, standing over me. What you doing in my chicken coop, frightening my birds? Hay is stuck to my cheek and hair. How did I get here? I push myself to a seated position. Lush green fields as far as I can see. I draw in a breath of that sweet, sweet air, the great outdoors. And during quarantine, wow, this is a nice place you have. But there aren't any farms near the city. Where am I? What town is this? Town? It's a farm. That's my cows over there, and you lying in my chicken coop, lying in poop. Why don't you get up? I hold my hand out for Farmer John to help me up, but he ignores it. Right, social distancing. I crawl to my knees and stand. I brush off the hay and chicken poop. I'm Zach. I live in Weldon in an apartment. Actually, a pretty cramped place. Normally, I'm like this active guy, you know, bike to work, jog, play football with my buddies. With this self-quarantine stuff, I'm not moving much. Been having problems falling asleep. Sometimes I fall asleep on the spot. Think I might have done that here. Farmer John nods. Looks like he's chewing his cud. Doesn't offer me his name. I'll stick with Farmer John. Don't know how I got this far from home. Haven't been out of the apartment in weeks. But I'm loving the view, and I haven't breathed this much fresh air in months. Don't know any welding in these parts, Farmer John says. You stink. Don't they have soap in that city of yours? Right, I smell pretty rank. We used up the soap washing our hands 20 times a day. When I went to buy more, it was all sold out. If you could just tell me the name of the closest town, I can look it up on my GPS. I tap my back pockets, my shirt pocket, nothing. I'd never leave home without my phone. Did you see my car? Ain't seen no car. You need to get moving. I got chores to do. He leads me to the front of the barn and points down a gravel drive. Follow that to the main road. Once I reach the road, do I go right or left? Depends on where you're going, don't it? I gaze down the drive. Maybe there'll be a sign at the road, maybe my car, but I don't have any keys in my pockets either. Okay then, thanks. I take a deep breath, square myself up, and start walking. Last thing I remember is my wife's voice. Couldn't remember what she said though. Hadn't been paying much attention. Would she have drugged me and brought me out here and dumped me? I've been a bit of a baby about this whole quarantine stuff. Should have been nicer, kinda. She's having a hard time too. I reach the main road and look right and left. No signs, no cars, just gentle rolling hills to infinity. A sharp pain cuts my calf. Get your feet off the coffee table, my wife says, kicking me a second time. I roll my head up off my chest and pull my feet off the table. I stretch. Think I'll take a shower. Hallelujah!
That's good.
That's great.
Next up is Charlie Redner. Charlie Redner is an author and a publisher, and he has written 3 books, an authorized biography, a novel, and a book of poetry. He writes inspirational articles for Phoenix Magazine, a national publication, and is the publisher of a really great little, a really great publication called the Hummingbird Review. And it's an annual literary anthology. He's president of the Spoken Word Club in Laguna Woods and he co-hosts the monthly Right Now TV show. You're up, Charlie.
I'd like to meet this guy. It's Thursday night in Laguna COVID. I'm in my dining room and I'm going to read two short poems which are universal in their experience during the time of COVID. First one is called Of All the Senses. Of all the senses, for a first, have you noticed how important ears have become? No longer just the entranceway for sound. Oh no. Today, the ears must become multi-purpose organs. Yes, of course, embed the earbuds so music enters as we ride our bikes and take our walks alone. Cannot deal with sunlight unless shades hang off the ears. And lastly, today's ever-present medical mask requires docking ports, one's ears. Warning, be sure to remove items in reverse order or you may lose a lobe. If alive today, Vincent van Gogh might be called eerily challenged. I cringed when I wrote that too. Ode to the Lost Days. The day was like any other day. We hardly noticed when it happened. I think it may have been a Thursday. No, wait, it was a Wednesday. You see, when one retires, the days of the week lose some of their importance. Before retirement, we worshiped Saturday and Sunday, those squeezed together weekend days. In the fall, marked by football, college on Saturday, and pros on Sunday. Monday, the ever-dreaded first work week day. Tuesday followed Monday, a regrouping day, a day to steady the ship. Ah yes, Wednesday, called hump day, meant you could see the light. You were going to make it through the week. Thursday was the day you had it made. Then came Friday, and it arrived in all its glory. Been a good worker bee? Perhaps. If the boss gone, you might leave a bit early. You know, beat the rush hour traffic. Then it's off to the weekend. Now, when retirement arrives, the days diminish in importance. Every day has the potential of becoming a weekend day. Some days it was hard to remember which day was which. Then arrived the pandemic of 2020, when the whole world retired of sorts. Now the days of the week have totally lost importance. Live sports departed the airwaves, so no clue as to a Saturday or Sunday. All appointments and out-of-home obligations halted. The world came to a close. The calendar lost its purpose. Days and dates, an archaic necessity, no more. So you see, it may have been a Thursday or a Wednesday when the days lost their value. It's not worth fretting about. Days lost their importance in the time of the virus. Alas, Monday, where art thou? Mama Cass, please help us. Thank you.
All right, it's my turn. Nancy Clan is a part-time artist, a part-time writer, and I get the juices flowing from hanging out with people like all of you. So this is my piece. It's Thursday night, 15,000 light years above the globular cluster known as Andromeda. Oops, I wanted to do that. It's less crowded than heaven. I come here to reflect and hopefully learn from some of my past fuck-ups. You know, droughts, floods, the locust fiasco, the Nile River debacle, and now this round, spiky virus calamity. About this COVID thing. It was a bit of a blunder set in motion by an experiment that began as a simple question. What if rats could fly? I slapped wings on a couple of them, installed a sonar system, and then sent them off to a cave to figure it out. It seemed to be a success, notwithstanding a glitch or two like the diseases they carry, and their flying is a bit wobbly. On the positive side, they eat tons of bugs, and their poop has a great name, guano. My personal favorite, they inspired the entire vampire literary genre. My biggest miscalculation was the same one that trips me up every damn time. Humankind's stupidity. Yes, I know that's my bad too, and I admit I went a tad heavy on the stupid gene. But it's extremely difficult to calculate the countless levels of idiocy, let alone install the proper safeguards for each. Case in point, on January 20th, 1982, a moron named Ozzy Osbourne stood on stage and bit the head off a bat. Who could have anticipated that? In the ensuing 38 years, eating bats has become a thing, all the rage, from Des Moines, Iowa, where the dingbat Osborne did the deed, to Wuhan, China. Yes, Wuhan, where the spiked microorganism living inside my winged rat experiment broke free and spread through the town like a fog of hazardous waste. Then hitched a ride on an air current and proved once again, not even God can fix stupid.
That's fabulous.
That's a delicious.
Okay, we're on to 8. Mike.
Yes.
Mike Miller had a career as a land surveyor for a civil engineer firm. His work included time in Alaska and Hawaii and Mexico, where he gained knowledge of the cultures of the people. When he retired in 2010, he turned to his first love, writing. It's taken 8 years to complete his manuscript, The Pacific Bloodlines Trilogy, a tale of the settlement of the Pacific Basin and the people who came to inhabit Oceania. You're on, Mike.
It is Thursday, and as Charlie just said, it really doesn't matter anymore. I may appear to be an inanimate object, but I wield almost complete power over my human master. He sits in the seat next to me, driving to the drugstore. He glances sideways at me. By reading his expression, I know how influential I am. So I do my best imitation of an intimate female garment. Since I am black and made of sheer cloth, this should work well. I can tell it affects him by the way he scowls and looks quickly away. What a fool. He actually thinks he can control a feeling of disgust when he pulls the thing that looks like women's panties over his mouth and nose. Well, if he is able to suppress that, so be it. It is of no matter. I will happily settle for the best thing next to fear, anger. He has this in spades, and I can control him with anger as easily as I can control him with fear. Again, he glances at me. He really doesn't want to do what he must do in just a few moments. This is good. I feel myself growing larger and larger. The air these humans breathe nowadays is ripe with fear. It haunts their homes, troubles their cars, and plagues the listening devices they cannot be without. Since they have become infected with fear, I have power over my master, whether he is afraid or not. Watch what happens. He will be forced to don me when he enters this pharmacy, because if he does not, others will be afraid of him. We stop. He reaches for me and loops me over his ears, then pulls me up around his mouth. He rationalizes that he does this to protect other humans from their own fear of the superstar virus. My master cannot quell another's fear by himself. Not anymore. He needs me. This is why he is angry. This is why I, a shred of black cloth, have become powerful enough to control the pinnacle of creation, a human being. I am now right up front, the first thing another person sees. I define him. Instead of seeing his face, other humans see me instead. I take the place of his visage, his identity. He enters the store and pulls me up a bit more so I cover his nose. I can see other humans clearly now. They all have entities like me fixed to their faces. Each human has exhaled their own fear and anger. It has enfolded their faces like a cloud, covered over their breathing passages, and hardened. They have wrapped their faces in their own anxieties. We masks exchange knowing looks between ourselves, as if we have been brought to life. We sense we have grown strong. We're a formidable army. Millions and millions of us now exist. We have conscripted the pathetic human race to make more and more of us. We flaunt our mastery by obscuring their panic faces while displaying our newfound grandeur for all to see. Victory is close now. Very soon we will fulfill our destiny. We will tighten the network of our fibers, seal off the openings in our material, and constrict the fasting strings like a garret. We will seal ourselves to their faces and resist all attempts to pull us free. We will strangle the flow of air to their noses and mouths. Without their airways open, even the strongest human will weaken and die within minutes. They have good reason to fear now, but they know not their peril. The weak-minded fools, squeeze harder and harder, my fellow masklings. Let us have no mercy on the weaklings. Watch them fall. Because of fear, they have just lost the game of survival, the only game that matters.
That was great. Okay, where are we? Lillian. Lillian is an author and a playwright and a poet. She's written a science fiction novel, co-authored a book on writing advice for creative self-expression, and 2 plays. She is a member of New Voices Playwrights and Southern California Writers Association. When not engaged in imaginative wordsmithing, Lillian is a freelance copy editor. Her motto is, "It's better to be corrected privately by your editor than publicly in a review." Okay, take it away, Lillian.
That's my cue. Thank you, Nancy. It's Thursday night in Yorba Linda, California, and I am sheltered in place. The governor has issued a stay-at-home order, and I posted on Facebook this haiku poem. It's not a disgrace to shelter in place if you love the human race. And then on March 23rd, I included in my newsletter the poem For All Times, my poetic response to sheltering in place. For all the times I wished for more time, I have it now. For all the times I promised to slow down, now's the time to enjoy each moment. For all the times I said I would call, I joyfully reach out to loved ones. For all the times I vowed to finish writing my play, the time is now. For all the books I wanted to read, it's time to read them now. For all the times I wanted to write more poems, now's the perfect time for poetry. For all the times I wished I had more time, I have it now. For the precious time I wasted with doubts or fears, I'll replace with joyful intentions. For all the times I binged on potato chips, I'll binge on TV shows instead. For all the times I didn't exercise, it's time to count those steps. For all the times I hoped someone else would lead, it's time for me to step up and do my part. For all the times I wished for more time, it's time to use my time with love in my heart. For all the times I dreamed of world peace, oh God, I pray the time for peace is now. with social distancing in our time, let's fight for social justice instead of endless war. And so it is.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary, can you hear us? I'm going to introduce you, and we're going to give it the best we have, okay?
Okay.
Okay, Mary Navarre's first paid writing gig was covering her high school girls swim team for the local weekly newspaper. Before long, she was off to journalism school and a lifelong affinity to storytelling. Mary is a first place winner in the inspirational category of the Writer's Digest annual writing competition. Her essays have been featured in print, online publications like the Oprah Magazine, Washington Post, Women's Day, and the Huffington Post, and others. Mary writes from the home she shares with her husband in the mountains of Colorado. Okay, Mary, hopefully.
Thank you, Nancy. It's Thursday night in Evergreen, Colorado, and my toilet paper is somewhere in China's Guangdong province. The Safeway shelves are empty, but we aren't out yet. It's too soon to panic. Still, when an ad pops up on social media, I make a panic buy. Ships in 12 hours, the ad says. My friend Judy checks out the website and claims it kind of scam that I know my order will never arrive. The paper goods aisle in the store remains pillaged. What if the unthinkable happens? Remember when Elaine from Seinfeld sat in a bathroom stall that was out of toilet paper? Someone posts on Facebook, I shudder, recalling that teenage summer and the hideous case of poison ivy I got after squatting in the woods during a bonfire at the beach. Weeks go by. Their website has disappeared. I emailed the sellers and demand a refund. I dial their San Francisco phone number. It just finds more than 100 tacky sites selling random crap, from kitchen tools to cell phone cases to lacy lingerie. I hear my Latin teacher father's voice, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. I accuse the sellers of fraud and threaten to report them to the FTC, the Better Business Bureau, and the Attorney General. They respond with 2 tracking numbers. The info is in Chinese. Remember the vintage white cloud spot where the old woman whispers, toilet paper? Well, I now want to scream toilet paper. After 42 days, there's a package at the mailbox. Did you get me a sweater? My husband asks, because the parcel looks about that size. We tear it open. There are 20 miniature rolls of no-name toilet paper. The other 20 arrive the next day. I think about the little playhouse we had in our backyard when I was a child. These are doll-sized rolls, not the 600-foot rolls advertised. A standard roll is 302 feet long. My guess is these are half that, maybe. This toilet paper is not going the distance. I constantly replace the empty rolls. So please, don't ask me to share. The truth is, I can't spare it. I don't have a square to spare. Besides, every one of my perforated toilet paper sheets is a rectangle. The end.
That's
Excuse me, we needed the end right then. that was really fun. I loved this. I loved every single piece. I just couldn't be happier. This is really fun for me. I
Thank
hope
you. You did
Yeah,
well.
thanks for
Thank
all
you.
Well done.
Thank you for
Fabulous.
organizing it. It's amazing.
I mean, every one of you just created something fantastic, and in 2 to 3 minutes. That's so great.
Amazing.
Mhm.